guys, it's Chaya Garcia. I might have to go any minute if my baby wakes, but until then, someone asked me a question privately that I'm going to respond to publicly. She asked me, where did I meet my husband? So, I'm not sure where to start. It took me a very, very, very long time to get married in the sense of that perfect moment. I knew exactly what I wanted in my husband. For someone who just joined, I'm answering a question on how I met my husband. I knew exactly what I wanted, and I was not willing to settle, which means that I had a lot of work to do. Because I knew exactly what I wanted, anyone who was close but not perfect, I said no to, which meant that I had to work up a lot of guts and courage and strength inside myself to be alone and to be unafraid of being alone and to increase my faith that even though it's taking years, I will have my husband. It is perfect. Not perfect in the sense without flaws, but perfect for me. So how we met. It was a Friday night. Rewind. Someone basically just said, hey, there's a Shabbaton in Hebron and I have a place for you to sleep. Do you want to come? So I said, sure, because every Shabbat I always stayed in Yerushalayim at my house and locally in the community. So I thought, why not? Someone invited me to go out. Might as well go out. It's something I don't normally do, so I'll do it, just to have a change of scenery. So I go to Hebron, and as many of you know, and as many of you don't know, on Parshas Chaya Sarah, which my name is actually Chaya Sarah, there are thousands of people who go to Hebron, which is an area in Israel where there's Marsa Machpelah, which is the burial site for the holiest couples that ever existed, like Jacob and Rebecca and all these holy people. So because this is like the holiest burial site and it's in Hebron, thousands of people go on the special Parsha. And so I was invited to go, so I went. On Friday night, I actually didn't have a ticket to a meal. And I was like praying to get in, but the security was really strict to the tents that had the meals. Long story short, miraculously, one of the security guards gave me a VIP ticket and I entered a tent and I had a meal. After the meal was over, I went to another tent. Again, there's thousands of people. Once the meal was over, I was then talking to the bunch of people, and it ended up with me, 2 girls, and a guy, and we were all just speaking together, eating cholent, which is like a stew, on Friday night. That man ended up being my husband. He was wearing glasses, so I couldn't really see his face, although he's super attractive. And it was just me, him, and two girls, and we were all just talking. Our first conversation was about how we are both physical people and love to snuggle, but that we've both decided to keep Shomer Negiah, which is a commandment to not touch anyone else but your husband or wife of the opposite sex. So basically you don't touch the opposite sex until you're married, and then once you're married you still don't touch the opposite sex except your spouse. So we had both taken this on, and that was our first conversation, how we love to snuggle, but we both taken on Shomer Negiah and how powerful it has been for us and how much self-respect we developed and how we perceive the opposite sex differently and how we no longer see them for like what we can get from them, but really just like a much more healthier, holistic concept of how we approach relationships. And that was that. The next day, which was Saturday night in Havdalah, which is the end conclusion of Shabbat blessings, again out of thousands of people, and there was like at least 50 different Havdalahs going on at the same time in all different areas and all different tents all around Hebron. I see him again, and he was overwhelmed because there was a lot of people. And I said, why don't you go wait outside? And so he said, okay, and he went outside. And when he walked away from me, I missed him. And I don't ever feel that way. It's like you meet people, you say hi, you say bye, whatever, they walk away from you, you know, great. When he walked away from me, I like missed him. So I like walked outside to find him, I guess, to continue speaking to him. And I just enjoyed speaking to him. Then we spoke and I found out that he was living in the same area as me and had slept for Friday night in the same area as me. So we agreed that he offered to walk me back to Kiryat Arba, which is where the first couple, Chaya and Adam, are buried, because according to the Arizal, the first couple is not Adam and Chava, it was Adam and Chaya, because Chaya, according to the Arizal, was her name before the Chet. And only after the sin did the Yud drop to a Vav, and then her name changed to Chava, but her original name was Chaya. And Adam and I were both staying in Kiryat Arba, eating by Marsa Machpelah, and our names are Chaya and Adam. And so he offered to walk me back, and we walked back, and I said I was cold, and he took off his jacket and gave it to me, totally tznius, totally gently, just a gentleman, sweet man. And we walked back to Kiryat Arba. I had a ride to go back to Jerusalem. He was staying there, so we both got a ride back. I had Malav Malka. This whole time, I had a feeling that I liked him. So I started to observe him. I observed him a lot. This is how I was always able to make my decisions of if it was the right one or the wrong one for me. I observed how he paid for the pizza and how he was with money when we all spoke as a group of what to do when we got back to Jerusalem, because we all had a ride together. So a bunch of us went out for pizza. So I observed how he was with like dealing with money and group decisions and other people and other women and me and alcohol. I mean, I observed him a ton. We speak that night, and I say that I need to go to the old city to help an old Holocaust survivor man. And I was like, I would really like to go with someone. And he said, love to come with you. So we actually memorized each other's numbers on Saturday night because we met on Shabbat. And he needed a ride back, but we couldn't write down each other's numbers. So we both memorized each other's numbers on Saturday night. So we both knew each other's number. And we stayed in touch that week. That week he would go for runs and he would run to me and we would basically sit and talk. And one of the reasons that I knew that I was very interested in him was his boundaries. He didn't sit too close to me and he didn't sit too far from me. So he wasn't like awkward and uncomfortable and making it like too religious or that. And he wasn't like aggressive or trying to get anything from me, which is another reason how I knew he was the one for me. He didn't want anything from me. He didn't want attention. He didn't want affection. We were Shomer Nagia. He already finished his degree in college. He didn't want anything from me. And every other person that I had dated before him wanted something from me. They either wanted me to be a cheerleader, or they wanted me to inspire them, or they wanted me to help them be clean from drugs, or they wanted me to, comfort them, or whatever it was. They needed something from me. He didn't need anything from me. So basically, that week, he came to me a bunch. And then that Shabbat, the next Shabbat, 1 week later, I arranged for him to have a meal with me. And I had very clearly shown him signs that I was interested in him by, when the food came to us, I would take the food off the plate and I would serve him. By, offering him a towel during Al Natilat Yadayim. So I've only known him 1 week, but I was making it clear that I wasn't interested in him as a friend. And then that night after the meal, he told me basically everything, the dirty details of things that I would really need to think about. And that was that. And then the next night was Rosh Chodesh. I believe it was Rosh Chodesh Elul, I want to say. No, he proposed me on Kislev. It was Rosh Chodesh Kislev, and he asked me out. I had an event, a poetry event that I was making that he came to. I feel like my daughter should be waking up any minute. And he asked me out that night after my event. He saw me performing and my element. He saw me vulnerable and real. He had told me his vulnerabilities. We were clear with each other that we liked each other. And so after the event, he said, "May I walk you home?" And I said yes. And then when he walked me home before he left, he was like, hey, do you want to get a cup of coffee this week? And I said, sure. And I walked back into my house. And then I was like, hey, like, let's be super clear. Like, no messing around. Like, I want to know that he asked me out on a date, that we're officially dating, not like, can I get a cup of coffee? Like, he wants to talk more or anything like that. So I sent him a text message. Like, just want to be clear, when you ask me for coffee, are you asking me out on a date? And he wrote back, yes. And he wrote back, like, you have an amazing energy and I would love to take you out on a date. And I wrote back, okay, And so I made it super clear, no guessing, no games. Like, you asked me out, yes, we're dating, okay, great. And then we dated for 2.5 weeks, and he proposed to me on the first night of Hanukkah. And years ago, which many, many people know my story, years ago I was very, very sad, and I was very much in pain. My daughter has to be awake soon. I'm going to go to the bedroom. And I bought a menorah. Actually, I can show you that. I don't know if you can see the menorah. Yeah, there you go. And I bought this menorah in Sfat, and I said I'm going to buy my husband his engagement present. Sorry, I'm just listening out for her. She has to be awake. Okay, I'm probably going to finish this. Basically, I got this menorah for my husband as an engagement present. And years passed by, and eventually I met him, and he asked me out and proposed to me within a month of meeting him. And I gave him his engagement present of the menorah that I had for him, waiting for him for years. So that's how I met my husband. I met him in Hebron on a Friday night on Shabbos in Parshas Chayei Sarah. My name's Chayei Sarah. We are both saying where Adam and Chai are buried, according to their Arizal. And I knew that he was the one for me because he had the same values, the same opinions, the same belief systems. He didn't want anything from me. He was shomer negia. He was willing to support me when I had children, which I discussed with him right away. And basically, also the way that I knew it was that he didn't do drugs or smoke pot or drink alcohol. Many people I had dated before did drugs or smoked pot or drank alcohol. And the short and fast answer to that is don't do it. Anyone who hurts themselves will hurt you. I'm just going to repeat that like 5 times. Anyone who hurts themselves will hurt you. Anyone who hurts themselves will hurt you. Anyone who hurts themselves will hurt you. So if they're numbing themselves with pot, or if they're increasing their alteration through alcohol, which increases anger and rage in the body, they will use their exact same coping mechanisms on you. And the love, happy phase of marriage, well, is awesome. It doesn't last forever. And the same exact way that they treat themselves is the same exact way that they will treat you. So he didn't do any drugs. He didn't do any pot. He didn't drink alcohol like he would have a little bit on Shabbat, but like not in general. So basically, I knew myself really, really, really well. I increased my faith to be able to wait patiently or not so patiently. I was patient with a lot of emunah that even though it was taking long, I would find my husband, I would find my zivug hagon. I was able to say no to men who were close, but not the right one, who I wanted it to work so bad because I wanted to get married, but just wasn't that high potential or the highest potential. And I believed. So know yourself, know exactly what you want, become that person. Don't think you want somebody and then you're not that. So if you want someone who doesn't drink alcohol or smoke pot or shomer negia, you have to do that too. Anything you want in a partner, you have to become that because you're their match. So don't have like idealistic thoughts of a perfect person if you're not becoming that perfect person yourself. And it's totally possible. Never settle, be patient, marry your zivug hagon, your highest potential of love. And may you just know of peace and blessings and self-love and the highest potential of marriage.